Have you ever looked at two property investments that seem completely identical on paper but end up with wildly different results? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're following the story of Min and Thon, a couple whose twin property purchases took them on two very different journeys. Let's get into why.
So let's set the same. Min and Tong buy two townhouses. And I mean, look at these stats. The purchase price, the same. The weekly rent, identical. They're not just in the same suburb, they're on the same street. Both two-bed, two-bath. You'd absolutely expect their experiences to be a mirror image of each other, right? That's for sure what they thought.
But you fast forward just 1 year and wow, the picture could not be more different. Min is cruising along feeling pretty good about his decision. But Tong, he's stressed out, wondering if he's made a massive mistake. Nothing catastrophic happened, but a whole series of small, kind of hidden factors just piled up to create these two completely separate realities. So let's unpack exactly what those were.
Okay, the first piece of this puzzle is realizing that location is so much more than just a postcode. A whole suburb doesn't perform the same way. It really comes down to demand on a micro level. We're talking street by street, or sometimes even one end of the street versus the other.
And this is where it gets really interesting. It's these little details that end up creating totally different pools of tenants. Turns out, Min's place was a shorter walk to the train station, and it got all this amazing morning sun. Tong's, on the other hand, was closer to a busy road and had a really strict no-pets policy. These quieter factors meant Min had way less vacancy and could pick from a bunch of great tenants. It kept his cash flow really stable. They were basically, without even realizing it, competing in two different leagues.
All right, let's peel back the next layer, the building itself. You can have two properties that look the same online, but they can have completely different economic lives because of what's happening inside their own four walls. And this is where things really started to go sideways for Ton.
Boom. This one number says it all. About 6 months in, Tank got slapped with a $2,500 special levy. That's an extra one-off fee that all the owners have to pay for an urgent repair. In this case, it was the roof. It came completely out of the blue. Min didn't pay a cent because his building was newer and had a healthy maintenance fund. That single bill just totally changed the feeling of the investment for Tank.
So the huge takeaway here is that a building's age, its construction quality, and, this is a big one, how well the strata committee plans for the future, these are massive economic drivers. These things never show up on the real estate listing, but believe me, they hit you right in your cash flow through fees and those nasty surprise levies.
Now let's get to the part that people so often forget about. You could give two people the exact same property, and I guarantee their experience could be completely different just because of how they financed it. See, the asset is only half the story. Your loan structure is the other, equally important half.
And this quote from realty.com.au just hits the nail on the head. Your financing can either be a shock absorber or it can be a stress amplifier. A surprise $2,500 bill feels very different depending on what kind of financial cushion you have sitting behind that property.
And that was the key difference here. Min had set up his loan with a financial buffer in an offset account. You know, that savings account linked to your mortgage that reduces your interest. He was ready for the unexpected. So for him, that cost was just an annoyance. But for Thon, who had a much tighter financial setup, that same bill felt like a punch to the gut. It caused a ton of stress.
And finally, the last major hidden variable. It's the one we don't always think about: tax. Specifically, we're talking about something called depreciation. It is such a powerful tool for investors, but it is not created equal for every property, even if they have the same price tag.
So what on earth is tax depreciation? Well, think of it as a tax deduction you get for the normal wear and tear on a building and the things inside it, like the carpet or the oven. The best part is it's a non-cash deduction. That means you don't actually spend any money, but it still lowers your taxable income, which could mean more cash back in your pocket at the end of the financial year.
And here's the difference it made. Because Min's property was so much newer, built in 2020, he could claim a much bigger amount in depreciation. Tank's place was older, and even though it had a cosmetic update, the claims were just way lower. The bottom line? After tax, Min's property was putting more cash back into his pocket every single year.
Look, if you're feeling like this is a lot to take in, that's completely normal. Thon's experience of getting blindsided by these hidden costs and variables is incredibly common, more than you think. The goal isn't to be an expert on everything, it's just to know what questions to ask in the first place.
So, with that in mind, we've put together a little checklist for you. Think of this as your guide to looking past the glossy real estate photos and getting to the real story of a property before you buy.
Let's just quickly run through these. Number 1, helps you suss out those quieter factors that got Min all the great tenants. Numbers 2 and 3, that's how you would have sniffed out the roof problem in Tong's building. Number 4 is all about creating that financial buffer that Min had, and 5 would have shown you the real cash flow difference after tax. These questions are your shield against the kind of stress that Tong went through.
So, what does this all boil down to? The difference between a comfortable investment like Min's and a really stressful one like Tong's, it's almost always hiding in the details you won't find on the listing. So the real question isn't just about finding a good property, it's about whether you're prepared to look past the price and the postcode to understand its true story.